Bass Reeves bought his ticket 3 days before the robbery, reserved a seat in the last passenger car, told the conductor he didn't want to be disturbed. Then he waited. He knew the Rufus Buck Gang was planning to hit this train. His informants had told him everything: which train, what time, how many men. Most marshals would have tried to stop them from boarding, arrest them at the station. But Bass didn't think like most marshals. He thought like a hunter. And hunters know the best time to catch your prey is when they think they've already won. So Bass let them board. Let them rob the strongbox. Let them terrorize passengers in cars 1 through 6. While they were busy counting their gold and waving their guns, Bass was in car 7, checking his ammunition and waiting for them to come to him. Because in a train moving 50 miles an hour, there's nowhere to run, no backup, no escape, just a narrow corridor. The Rufus Buck Gang had split their gold. 8 men, 8 shares, $5,000 each. They were laughing, celebrating, already planning what they'd spend it on. Then someone said, "We should check the last car." And that's when everything changed. Because when that door opened and they saw who was sitting there, waiting with his hands resting on twin Colts and a smile that could freeze blood, every single one of them understood they'd made a terrible mistake. What happened in that last train car in the next 7 minutes became the story that outlaws told each other as a warning. The story that made grown men choose prison over running. The story that proved Bass Reeves didn't chase you. He waited for you to come to him. August 3, 1889, the Missouri-Kansas Railway, departing Kansas City westbound at 8:47 a.m. 6 passenger cars, 1 baggage car, 132 passengers who had no idea they'd just boarded the same train as the most feared outlaw gang in Oklahoma Territory and the most dangerous lawman in American history. The Rufus Buck Gang wasn't some desperate group of amateurs. These were professionals. 8 men, all wanted for murder, robbery, and worse. They'd hit 5 trains in the past 6 months. Always the same method. Board at different stops, wait until the train was miles from any station, then strike fast and brutal. Take the strongbox, terrorize the passengers into compliance, jump off before the next town. They'd never been caught, never even been close. Rufus Buck was the leader. 26 years old, Creek and Black heritage, and absolutely ruthless. He'd killed his first man at 16. By 26, he'd killed 8 more. He was fast with a gun, faster with a knife, and smart enough to stay 3 steps ahead of every marshal who'd tried to catch him. His gang included his cousin Jesse, who handled the explosives, Billy and Tom, brothers from Texas, who'd robbed banks before graduating to trains, Carl and Dutch, former cowboys turned outlaws after killing a ranch foreman who'd cheated them, and 2 others, Lou and Frank, muscle and guns for hire. Lou was the enforcer, big, brutal, loyal to Rufus without question. They'd boarded separately, Rufus in Kansas City, 2 men in Lawrence, 3 more in Topeka, the last 2 in a small water stop called Elmdale. By the time the train crossed into Indian Territory, all 8 were on board, weapons hidden, waiting for Rufus's signal. What they didn't know was that Bass Reeves had been tracking them for 6 weeks. He'd arrested 3 of Rufus's informants, learned their patterns, figured out their next target. And he'd done something brilliant. Instead of trying to catch them before they acted, he'd positioned himself exactly where they'd have to come. The last car, the end of the line. Bass sat alone in car 7. A few other passengers had been in that car when the train left Kansas City, but Bass had politely suggested they might prefer seats closer to the front. Something about his tone, not threatening, just factual, made them move without question. By the time they reached Indian Territory, Bass was alone. He wore his usual black Stetson, pulled low, long duster coat, even in August heat, because it concealed his twin Colt .45 revolvers and the Winchester rifle leaning against the seat beside him. His U.S. Marshal badge was pinned inside his coat, visible if he opened it, hidden if he didn't. He'd learned long ago that sometimes it was better to be underestimated. The train rocked gently as it picked up speed. Bass could hear everything: the rhythm of the wheels on the tracks, the hiss of steam from the engine, the distant chatter of passengers in the forward cars. His hearing was exceptional. Had to be. When you're hunting men who want to kill you, every sound matters. At 11:15 a.m., Bass heard the first gunshot, car 1, right on schedule. Then shouting, then more shots, but these were aimed at the ceiling, warning shots, control shots. The robbery had begun. Bass didn't move, just listened, tracked the chaos as it moved through the train. Car 2, passengers screaming. Car 3, the conductor trying to reason with them, then silence, probably unconscious. Car 4, the strongbox exploding. That would be Jesse with his dynamite. Small charge, just enough to blow the lock without derailing the train. Bass checked his pocket watch. 11:17. 2 minutes. They were efficient. He had to give them that. By 11:25, the gang had secured cars 1 through 4. Bass could hear them celebrating, counting the gold, laughing. They thought they'd won. They thought this was just another easy job. Bass opened his coat, checked his revolvers one more time. Fully loaded, 6 shots each, 12 total. 8 men. Simple math. The train conductor, a man named Harold Price, stumbled into car 7 through the forward door. His face was bleeding, his uniform torn. He saw Bass sitting there, calm as Sunday morning, and his eyes went wide. "Marshal Reeves," Harold whispered. "They're coming this way. 8 of them, armed." "I know," Bass said quietly. "How many passengers hurt?" "Few bruises, nothing serious. They're professional about it. Take the money, don't hurt anyone unnecessarily." "Good," Bass said. "That means they're thinking. Men who think can be reasoned with. Men who panic do stupid things." "What are you going to do?" Bass smiled. Not a friendly smile, a wolf's smile. "I'm going to wait right here. When they come through that door, you make sure you're in car 6, way in the back. Things are about to get loud." Harold nodded and disappeared back through the forward door. Bass heard him warning passengers to stay down, stay quiet. Good man. At 11:32, Bass heard them coming. Boots on the floor of car 6, voices arguing. Someone wanted to check the last car. Someone else said it wasn't necessary. Rufus Buck's voice, authoritative. "We check everything. Billy, Tom, go see who's back there." Bass's hands moved to his revolvers. Didn't draw them, just rested his palms on the grips, ready, waiting. The door opened. Billy stepped through first. Young guy, maybe 22, confident walk, gun in his right hand. His eyes swept the car and landed on Bass, sitting alone, black man in a hat. Billy relaxed slightly, probably thought Bass was just another passenger. "Anyone else in here?" Billy asked. "Just me," Bass said calmly. Tom stepped through behind Billy, older brother, more cautious. He noticed something Billy hadn't, the way Bass was sitting, too calm, too still, like a coiled spring. "You didn't run when the shooting started," Tom said slowly. "Didn't have anywhere to run to," Bass replied. "This is the last car." Billy laughed. "Smart Negro, knows when he's trapped." He walked closer, gun still pointed casually at Bass. "We're gonna need whatever money you got. Wallet, watch, anything valuable." Bass didn't move. "I've got something valuable, but you're not gonna want to take it." "Yeah? What's that?" Bass opened his coat, slowly. His marshal's badge caught the sunlight coming through the window. 7-pointed star, U.S. Marshal engraved across the top, Bass Reeves engraved across the bottom. Billy's face went white. Tom took a step backward. Every outlaw in Indian Territory knew that name, every single one. "Now," Bass said, his voice still calm, almost gentle, "you boys have 2 choices. You can put that gun down real slow, and we can walk up to car 6 together,
where I'll arrest you and your friends without anyone else getting hurt. Or you can try to shoot me, and I'll kill both of you before you fire a second shot." Billy's hand tightened on his gun. Young, stupid, confident. Tom saw it happening and yelled, "Don't!" But Billy drew. Bass was faster. He'd always been faster. His right hand cleared leather, aimed, fired in one fluid motion that took maybe half a second. The bullet hit Gilly's gun, knocked it spinning out of his hand. The ricochet buried itself in the floor. Billy screamed, grabbing his hand. Not shot, but the impact had broken fingers. Tom froze. He was smart enough not to move. "Drop it," Bass said quietly. His gun was now aimed directly at Tom's chest. Tom's pistol hit the floor. "On your knees, both of you." They knelt. Bass pulled 2 sets of handcuffs from his coat, cuffed them both. Then he did something unexpected. He dragged them to the baggage car door at the very back of car 7, opened it, and shoved them inside. "Stay quiet," Bass said. "If I hear noise from in here, I'm going to assume you broke free and I'll start shooting through the door. Understand?" They nodded, terrified. Bass closed the baggage car door and returned to his seat. Entire encounter, 90 seconds. 1 shot fired, 2 men down. He reloaded the 1 spent round. Then he waited. Up in car 6, the gang was getting nervous. Billy and Tom had been gone 3 minutes. No gunshots, no shouting, just silence. "Something's wrong," Dutch said. "Maybe they're robbing passengers back there," Jesse suggested. "Without telling us?" Rufus shook his head. "Carl, Dutch, go check on them." Carl and Dutch exchanged glances. Neither wanted to go. But when Rufus Buck gave an order, you followed it. They walked through car 6, guns drawn, nervous. Bass heard them coming. This time he didn't wait in his seat. He positioned himself beside the door, back against the wall, gun ready. The door opened. Carl stepped through, looking left, where Bass had been sitting. Bass was to his right. Carl realized his mistake too late. Bass's pistol barrel pressed against Carl's temple. "Freeze!" Carl froze. Dutch, still in car 6, saw Carl stop abruptly, saw the gun to his head. Dutch did the smart thing. He ran, screaming, "There's a marshal! Bass Reeves is on the train!" The gang in car 6 erupted into chaos, shouting, panic, furniture being overturned. They were building a barricade facing the rear door. They were watching that door like hawks, guns trained, sweating, breathing hard, waiting for Bass Reeves to come through. He didn't. Instead, Bass reached the forward window of car 6, the window facing toward car 5. Not barricaded, not watched. He hung from the roof, swung down, kicked through the window, and crashed into car 6 from the side. Glass shattered. Bass rolled, came up firing, not to kill, aiming low, legs, arms, disabling shots. Lou went down with a bullet in his thigh. Frank took one in the shoulder. Dutch, who'd run earlier, tried to bring his rifle up. Bass shot the rifle stock, splintered the wood, sent it flying out of Dutch's hands. Then it became close combat. 5 men in a confined space, no room for gunplay. Just fists, chairs, desperation. Jesse swung a chair leg at Bass's head. Bass ducked, grabbed Jesse's wrist, twisted, slammed him face first into a seat. Jesse went limp. Frank, bleeding from his shoulder, pulled a knife, rushed Bass. Bass sidestepped, used Frank's momentum against him, sent him crashing into the barricade. Frank didn't get back up. Dutch tried to tackle Bass. Big mistake. Bass was 6'2", 210 pounds of muscle, hardened by 30 years of survival. He caught Dutch mid-tackle, redirected him, sent him head first into the wall. Dutch crumpled. Lou, wounded thigh and all, tried to crawl toward the forward door, trying to escape, trying to warn Rufus. Bass let him go, let him drag himself forward into car 5, because Bass knew something Lou didn't. There was nowhere left to run. 4 minutes. 4 men down, one crawling away wounded. Bass stood in the wreckage of car 6, breathing hard, blood on his knuckles, not his. The passengers cowering behind seats, staring at him like he was some kind of force of nature. Maybe he was, but the fight wasn't over. Through the door to car 5, Bass heard voices, Rufus Buck and Lou, who'd managed to drag himself forward despite his wounded leg. They'd heard everything. They knew everyone else was down, and they'd taken a hostage. Bass opened the door slowly, stepped into car 5. 30 passengers pressed against the walls, and in the center aisle, Rufus Buck held a woman named Mary Sullivan, gun pressed to her head, his hand shaking, fear and rage in his eyes. Lou was beside him, leaning against a seat for support. His leg was bleeding badly, pants soaked dark red, but his gun was still in his hand, though it was shaking almost as much as Rufus's. "Stop right there, Marshal," Rufus said. His voice was trying to sound confident, failing. Bass stopped, 10 feet away, hands visible, empty, his revolver still holstered. He looked at Mary, middle-aged woman, terrified but trying to be brave. "It's okay, ma'am. I'm gonna get you out of this." "Like hell you are," Rufus snarled. "You take one more step, and I paint these walls with her brains." Bass didn't move, just watched, studied. Rufus was right-handed, gun in his right hand, trembling slightly. Adrenaline, fear. The trembling was important, meant he wasn't as committed as he wanted people to believe. Lou stood behind Rufus. His face was pale from blood loss, gun in his hand, but barely holding it up. His eyes were unfocused, shock setting in. He was running on pure adrenaline now, nothing else. "Rufus," Bass said calmly, "I know you're smart. I know you've been running this gang for 2 years and avoided every marshal in the territory. You're good at what you do." "Damn right I am. So be smart right now. Think this through. You kill that woman, you're not walking out of here. You know it. I know it. Everyone on this train knows it. Maybe I take you with me." Bass smiled. Not a happy smile. A sad smile. Like he was tired of this. "Rufus, you're not the first man to point a gun at me. You're not even the 20th. You know what happened to all of them?" Rufus didn't answer. "They're either in prison or in the ground. Every single one." Bass took a small step forward. Rufus tensed but didn't shoot. The hostage bought him some power, but he didn't know what to do with it. "I've been tracking you for 6 weeks, Bass continued. "Your hideout in Creek Nation, I raided it 3 days ago. Your escape horses you were supposed to meet in Texas, already impounded. Your brothers you were supposed to meet in Texas, arrested last Tuesday. And this train, I've been sitting in the last car since Kansas City, waiting. You walked into my trap, Rufus, not the other way around." Rufus's face went pale, all his confidence draining away. He'd thought he was in control, but he'd never been in control, not for a second. The train's whistle blew, long and loud. They were approaching Fort Smith Station, 5 minutes out. "Here's what's going to happen," Bass said. His voice was still calm, but there was iron underneath, authority that couldn't be argued with. "When this train stops, there are going to be 20 deputies waiting on that platform. Judge Parker sent them. They know you're on this train. They know I'm on this train. And they know one of 2 things is going to happen. Either I'm walking off with you in handcuffs, or I'm walking off with your corpse. Your choice." Lou's gun lowered. He couldn't hold it anymore. His wounded leg buckled, and he grabbed a seat to keep from falling. "Rufus," he said quietly, his voice weak from blood loss. "It's over, man. It's over." "Shut up!" Rufus screamed, but his own gun was wavering now. Bass looked at Lou, really looked at him. Saw a man who was maybe 30 years old, but looked 50 in this moment, bleeding, exhausted, terrified. A man who'd made bad choices and was finally realizing where they'd led him. "Lou," Bass said quietly, "you're young enough to have a life after this. You haven't killed anyone that I know of. Judge Parker will take that into account. But if you let your boss do something stupid right now, you'll both hang, and that woman will be dead. Her kids will grow up without a mother. Her husband will bury her, all because you didn't have the courage to do the right thing when it mattered." Lou looked at Rufus, then at Bass, then at Mary, who was crying silently, too afraid to make a sound. Lou's gun hand was shaking violently now, not from adrenaline, from the weight of the decision. Rufus was alone now in every way that mattered. One hostage, one gun, one marshal staring at him like he could see right through him. And maybe he could, because Bass Reeves had arrested over 3,000 criminals in his career. He knew fear when he saw it, and Rufus Buck was terrified. "Last chance, Rufus," Bass said. "Judge Parker wants you alive, wants you to face trial, wants to see you answer for what you've done. But if you harm that woman, if you pull that trigger, I'll drop you before you take your next breath, and I've never missed." The train was slowing. The whistle blew again. Fort Smith was close, so close. Rufus's hand was shaking violently now. His eyes darted left, right, looking for an escape that didn't exist. The gun pressed harder against Mary's head, and she whimpered. That's when Lou made his decision. Despite his wounded leg, despite the blood loss, despite everything, he dove forward, grabbed Rufus's gun arm, yanked it away from Mary's head with everything he had left. Rufus screamed, tried to fight, but Lou held on. "Run!" Lou shouted at Mary. "Run!" Mary broke free, stumbled away toward the passengers, and in that moment of chaos, with Rufus and Lou struggling for the gun, Bass moved. 3 steps, that's all it took. Bass crossed the 10 feet in less than a second. His right hand grabbed Rufus's wrist, twisted, and the gun clattered to the floor. His left hand came up, closed around Rufus's throat, lifted him off the ground, and slammed him against the wall hard enough to crack the wood paneling. Rufus gasped for air. Bass's grip was like iron. His face was inches from Rufus's, and when he spoke, his voice was cold as a January grave. "You just lost your last chance." Bass threw Rufus to the floor, pulled handcuffs from his belt, cuffed Rufus's hands behind his back, then turned to Lou, who'd collapsed from blood loss and exhaustion. Lou looked up at Bass, tears mixed with sweat on his face. "I didn't want anyone to die today," he whispered. Bass knelt beside him, checked the leg wound. It was bad, but not fatal. "You just saved that woman's life," Bass said. His voice was gentler now, "and probably your own. Judge Parker will hear about this. I'll make sure of it." "Why?" Lou asked. "Why would you help me after what I did?" "Because you made the right choice when it mattered most," Bass said. "That's all any man can do. Make the right choice when it counts." He helped Lou sit up, used strips from a passenger's shirt to bind the leg wound. Then he stood, looked at the passengers. "Anyone here a doctor?" An older man raised his hand. "I am." "Take care of this man. He's under arrest, but he's also a hero. Make sure he lives to see his trial." The train pulled into Fort Smith Station at 12:47 p.m., 3 hours and 15 minutes after the robbery started. The platform was packed, 20 deputies, just like Bass said. Judge Isaac Parker himself was there, tall and stern, waiting to see the result. The train doors opened. Passengers poured out, some crying with relief, some running to loved ones, all talking at once about the marshal who'd fought 8 outlaws alone on a moving train. Then Bass appeared, walking down the steps, leading Rufus Buck in handcuffs. Then deputies carried Lou on a stretcher, wounded but alive. Then Carl, then Dutch, then Frank, then Jesse, then Billy and Tom, all 8 members of the Rufus Buck Gang, some limping, some bleeding, all alive, all under arrest. The crowd went silent. Then someone started clapping, then another, then the whole platform erupted in applause. But Bass didn't acknowledge it,
just walked past, delivering his prisoners to the deputies. Judge Parker stepped forward. Marshal Reeves, Judge. 8 men, no casualties. They're your problem now, Judge. I'm just the delivery man. Parker almost smiled. Almost. How did you do it? Bass looked back at the train. I let them think they'd won. Then I reminded them what happens when you underestimate the wrong man. The Rufus Buck Gang was tried in Judge Isaac Parker's court 2 weeks later. 7 of them were sentenced to hang. Lou, because he'd saved Mary Sullivan's life and testified against the others, received 15 years. He served 11, got out for good behavior, and spent the rest of his life working as a ranch hand in Texas. He never broke the law again. He told anyone who'd listen, "Bass Reeves gave me a second chance when I didn't deserve one. I wasn't going to waste it." The story of Bass Reeves and the train robbery spread across the West like wildfire. Railroad companies started requesting Bass specifically for high-value shipments. Outlaws stopped robbing trains in Indian Territory altogether. Too risky. Not because of the guards or the detectives, because of the possibility that Bass Reeves might be sitting in the last car, waiting. 6 months after the arrest, Bass was on another train. Same route, same seat in the last car. The conductor, Harold Price, who'd been there that August day, came back to check on him. "Expecting trouble, Marshal?" Harold asked. Bass looked up from the book he was reading. "No, but troubles learned to expect me." The train rolled on through Indian Territory, past the same countryside where the Rufus Buck Gang had thought they'd found easy money, past the same stations where they'd boarded, confident and doomed. And in the last car, Bass Reeves sat alone, calm as always, ready for whatever came next. Because that's what legends do. They don't chase danger. They don't seek violence. They just sit in the last car, quiet and patient, and wait for foolish men to come find them. And when those men arrive, thinking they've found an easy target, they learn a lesson that gets carved into history. You don't hunt Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves lets you hunt yourself. And when you walk through that final door, thinking you've won, you discover the truth. You were never the hunter. You were always the prey. And the trap was waiting from the very beginning. If this story of the deadliest train ride in Western history moved you, hit that subscribe button. Bass Reeves has more stories that need to be told, and we're just getting started. Drop a comment. Could any gang have beaten Bass Reeves on his chosen ground? And turn on notifications, because next time we're telling the story that broke Bass Reeves's heart, the day he had to arrest his own son for murder. A story about justice, family, and the hardest choice a man ever had to make. Bass Reeves, the marshal who turned trains into traps, the lawman who made outlaws choose prison over running, the legend who proved that the most dangerous weapon isn't a gun, it's patience and knowing exactly when to strike. Remember his name.